Welcome back to the show. Today I am very happy to have with me Dr. Angela Tan. She is a medical doctor and intimacy coach, the co-founder of Academy of Relationship and Sex, which started in September of 2020. Today we are here to talk about all things relationship, sex, some topics which might be a bit taboo, but it's a podcast platform and we are here to explore it today. Welcome, Dr. Tan.
Definitely, thank you for having me today, and I'll love to share whatever you guys would like to know about this sensitive topic today.
Dr. Tan, can you do a self-introduction of yourself to the audience?
Okay, so I'm medically trained. I've been working for a doctor for more than a decade, and over time, what I noticed was that patients were coming to me and they were struggling with the problems of sex, but yet even with a master's degree, I wasn't adequately able to explain to them or even give them sound advice to help them improve things in the bedroom. So that started my search of who can I refer. And I realized there was, hardly anyone in the community I can refer to. I started to research then how can I train myself in the realm of sexual medicine. And that started my journey about 4 or 5 years ago, where, I got myself trained in the field of sexual medicine. And that was how I started the whole practice.
When you had to refer someone, right? What is sort of the conventional way of referral that doctors can do for a patient who has issues in this aspect?
Well, if it's a technical issues, I either refer to the urologist for men,
Urology, okay.
or gynecologist for females. But sometimes the issue is just not technical. There's something about the way they're doing things or their psychological component of it. And there are not that many psychologists included. They are also familiar with this terrain. 5-7 years ago kind of thing when I first started out. Yeah.
When I was reflecting about this interview, right, preparing for it, and I was just thinking that relationship is really one thing that has a big bearing on our happiness on a daily level.
Okay.
So if I can just share with you my story, right? So you saw, I'm living alone. My parents have passed away, and my siblings have moved out.
Right.
And I'm my own boss.
Right.
So I don't have that boss-colleague relationship. Very little of it now at this point of time. And I also don't have to worry about like parental relationship or siblings relationship. So my relationship with my girlfriend, right, my partner, becomes so important.
Okay.
Because it takes up like my relationship with her will take up maybe like a good 80% of my interaction with
others.
Of course, in work, when I book my guests for a podcast, when I sit down and interact with people, I have that. But that really the intimate day-to-day relationship. So in your work, right, relationship and sex academy, how much of the problem that patients come and see you, right, how much do you think is a technical sex issue, and how much of it is really the soft skills, the relationship part of it?
Well, majority of the clients who come to me are actually out to solve the soft skills. And of course, some part of sexual education as well. Because unfortunately, more than 80% of us actually research about sex online. And this may not be appropriate, especially when it comes to pornography, which is a very skewed way of dealing with sex. And if you're learning how to have sex with somebody through pornography, what we end up with are the things not to do. So couples struggle with it. So when it comes to them, when they come to me, by then sometimes they have built a lot of resentment, disappointment, and frustration with the situation with each other. So I had to solve with them both the relationship part as well as the technical bits. And the true technical bits, for example, medically related erectile dysfunction, they would have went to my colleagues, the urologists first, before they would seek something else. So usually those that come to me are the leftovers, I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
So how should people learn how to have sex?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Because let's say over the weekend, my cousin, right? He celebrated his 19th birthday. A young man like him. How should he learn how to have sex?
Well, to me, right, having sex is not something that you learn the moment you have your 18th birthday, 19th birthday, or 20th birthday. It's actually a continuum since we were young. Like, the whole connotation of sex has been so warped up in the sense that it's only pertaining to intercourse that we have forgot the whole continuum of it. Like, as a growing child, a toddler, what do they need to know about sex? They need to know about identifying their genitals as what it is. Like, the penis and vulva is no different from the hands or the feet.
Oh, no difference.
I mean, it's all body parts, right?
Okay.
In that sense. But because of the way we are teaching our children, we made the vulva and the penis so exclusive. That is filled with embarrassment or shame.
We don't even name it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
We have all kinds of nicknames for it. Yeah.
Definitely, the kind of nicknames speaks about how much taboo there is. And the moment, you enter a relationship feeling shameful about your private part, what's that intimacy going to be like? Can you imagine that? Yeah, and then after that, as they grow up, we teach them boundaries and respect. Because when you're in an intimate relationship with somebody, you need to know where the boundaries are. You need to be able to take care of your own boundaries and respect your partner's boundaries. And that's where, when the trust is built, can the intimacy then comes along. You see? So if you're just viewing sex as an intercourse itself and as the act only, then we have forgotten the whole process of it. How do we actually mature to become a good lover for our partner? Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, it makes a lot, but there's so much layer to it. I'm just trying to figure out how I should unpeel this. But then I need you to speak maybe a little bit closer to the microphone because I hear a bit echo there.
Okay, no worries.
So let me just try and unpeel this, right? From maybe I talk about from us entering our first relationship. And I always try and think of the podcast, right, as every guest, right, as who are the people who might be interested to listen to this? And for parents who are listening to this, right, when they are having teenage kids who are growing up, 14, 15, 16, 17, and they realize that their kid is getting into a first relationship.
Yep.
And that's where there's a lot of worry as well, right? And about the emotional aspect of it.
Definitely.
And also the physical aspect of it, whether the kid is having sex with their partner at a very young age. What should be a right mindset for parents or for the teenager when they are at this stage of their life?
Well, even though a lot has to be attributed to the parent-child relationship way before, but since we can't change all that has passed, what's important is to focus on what does a child exactly know about sex at this moment in time? Where are their boundaries? Where's their safety? What are their concerns? Because they might have learned about sex through online, through pornography, through their friends, which is the top 3 places kids nowadays learn sex from, is to find out what they exactly know, and that we can have once we have an understanding of what they know, it's easier for us to give advice. Okay, and to understand, what is their boundaries with their partner, and what does having sex early in life actually means for each of them, and what's the significance of sex to each of them. So a lot of kids, might not have the opportunity to have conversations like that, because to them it's like, wow, the act is so hyped up. It's like, once I'm having sex, I'm a grown up. It means that, I'm being desired, I'm wanted. And they don't look at the significance behind the whole interaction itself. And what exactly leads up to that, you see. So it's really about sitting your child down, having a conversation, an open one. Not one that we are insisting on our own ideas and our own views, but to hear where they are and to actually point out what could be something unsafe in some of their thoughts. All right, so that, if they eventually do have a sexual encounter, hopefully it be a more pleasant one.
What do you tell people is the significance of sex?
Oh, it varies from people to people.
Okay.
Okay, so a long time ago when I first started to work, I went around asking, okay, what do you think is your ideal sex experience?
Okay.
Okay, so majority of the answers that I get from males are, as long as I'm able to hold my erection and ejaculate eventually, to me that's great.
There's a certain age group of men as well. We'll give this kind of answer.
Well, I mean, they are between 20, 30s. I mean, around my network, so 20, 30s. Okay. And for females, to them is as long as the sex is not painful, to them is good enough.
Okay.
And to me, I got a shock.
Why?
It's like if females think that not having painful sex is good enough, they haven't even mentioned about pleasure.
That's a very low kind of...
Yes, it's a very low entry.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about connection. You didn't talk about intimacy. Right? And that shocked me. And then for men, it was very focused on their performance. It wasn't about the connection or intimacy either. And that wasn't what I signed up for when I started this journey. Because I wanted to, help people build connection and intimacy with each other and themselves along the way as well. So, that got me to like, okay, maybe this is where I should really start.
Yeah. As a man, I can totally relate.
Okay.
No, really, when you're younger, as a man, you sort of... How many % of your patients are men, actually?
I get about 50-50, because most of the time I do get couples, actually.
Okay. Okay. So, do you feel like men typically have more... Are there issues similar between men and women?
Different. Like you're probably right, men are more technical.
Yeah.
So to them, their KPI is either they can last, or their KPI is, I can help my woman have an orgasm during our interaction. So there's always an end point.
And there's always that stress as well.
Yes.
To perform up to a certain ideal kind of vision that you have of a satisfying sex experience. But not every encounter can be that ideal state.
Yeah.
Then what do we do about it?
Also, it's about being honest and talking about it. Like, every sexual encounter kinds of add to your experience list. It's not like a target board that you have to hit every time. But how do you actually be present during this interaction and make it memorable? So, there are days that we feel down. So, it's not every time that the woman or man wants to have an orgasm as an endpoint. Sometimes they just want to be loved and cared for. So to me, a lot of times I have to tell my clients, sex is never about intercourse. It can also be a simple back rub. It can just be cuddling. It can just be fondling or caressing each other without going all the way to the end. Or it can even be mutual masturbating, right? Without actually taking part in an intercourse. It's really a time where we can share an intimate time with each other.
And I suppose it can come in other aspects as well, right? In the relationship. It can also be like going to a movie together.
Yeah.
Like having just me time, like
definitely,
two-person time.
Yeah.
I can imagine, especially for couples who have children, when they don't have that 二人世界 sometimes,
Yes.
they feel like a bit disconnected from
Yes.
their couples.
Yes.
What's your experience with married couples who have children,
Plenty.
Okay.
But a lot of time it's about sorting through the resentment that builds up and also clarifying their signals. Because like sometimes when I want sex, my partner may not want. And when my partner wants sex, I may not want. So when we keep rejecting each other, the resentment then builds up. And it causes problem in the relationship. So it's about understanding how do you set up a schedule that we can put time aside for each other. And how do we make rejection more pleasant? And
How?
well, rule number 1 is never to take rejection personally.
Okay.
Yeah, but to really understand what is happening in your partner's life. And then if I'm the one rejecting, then I also have to be responsible for the rejection. I'll go like, hey, honey, not today because I have a report to submit tomorrow. I'm really stressed about it. Okay, how about, my calendar looks good next Thursday.
Oh no, then you have to schedule a date for sex?
Yeah, to me, it's like, married couples with kids.
Okay.
And if we are all full-time careerists, if we do not schedule time aside and make an effort for it and be disciplined about it, we're going to lose that time because with kids coming along, with deadlines coming along, there's always something that is higher in the priority.
Okay.
By scheduling it, what it means to me is I'm prioritizing this.
I suppose good things can come out of it as well, right? Now I'm
Yes.
just thinking about it.
Yeah,
if you have a schedule, like let's say if it's scheduled and you are working towards that date, right? There are things that you can do
Yeah, then you
to
can
yourself
plan
as
ahead.
well. Yeah.
Right, you can plan ahead. You can like, this Thursday is going to be the surprise day. Let me plan something. So there's enough time to even do that build up.
You can buy flowers that day.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
can go do your personal grooming before that big day,
Yeah.
before Thursday and all. That's all possible.
Yeah,
right?
and then all the teasing can happen way before that.
So is one of the biggest problem that Singaporean couples have not having enough sex with their partners?
Well, from the statistics that surveys has found, it seems that the frequency of Singaporeans having sex is one of the lowest in this region.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess it's multifactorial. The work is an issue. The kids is an issue. The abundance of nightlife here is an issue. There's so much distractions. And now with the lockdown pandemic that has just flown past us, all of us are so comfortable with being at home, doing everything at home.
Yes.
Right, like being at home means that I'm always on my phone, going on an e-commerce site or just surfing TikTok and IG.
Or even chasing a K-drama.
Or whatever. It's like
yeah.
we are doing a lot of things, other than just being with our partners. Yeah. So I guess that's a busyness that we are all very drawn to.
So some people wonder about like what's the ideal frequency, right? And sometimes among friends we sort of talk about it. So what's your frequency and all. And I suppose it comes from a place of like trying to at least be fair to our partners sometimes. Like if people are saying that the norm is like once every 2 weeks and you know that you are like once every month, then maybe you know that you are lacking effort. I don't know, I'm just like
to me, there's no ideal frequency. It's what works for you in your relationship. I mean, some couples, they can be added 3-4 times a day, especially at the start of a relationship. Okay, and some couples find, a few times, once every few months is good enough. So it's understanding each other's schedule, each other's work pace, and what does it mean to be intimate. And then it's like setting a regular date is different from insisting to have sex during that date.
Setting a regular date is different from insisting to have
sex on
that date.
So let's
what does
say
it mean? Yeah.
Let's say if me and my partner, we decided, okay, we should have an intimate time once a week.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that every time we need to have sex. Sometimes it can be just a heart talk.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I would insist on in that discipline come to couples, long-term married couples, is to set a regular time for connection, but not every time needs to end up in bed. Yeah.
So is it okay for married couples to not have sex?
Well, if it doesn't make them enjoyable, if both of them are struggling with something at the moment, we are bound to have some time that's low.
Okay.
Yeah, but then if not having sex is causing problems in the relationship itself, then that needs to be handled. Yeah. If the lack of sex is causing them to feel disconnected, of letting them feel that, their partner don't love them and the resentment is building up, or the suspicion that, is my partner's seeing somebody else outside. You see?
So that means they are satisfying that part of it with someone else outside.
Correct. Okay. So if all these things are cropping up in the background, then it's time to put it on the table and work on it.
That's true. So when do people typically come and see you?
Typically,
Partners?
unfortunately, pretty late.
So when there's, like you said a few times already, there's a lot of resentment.
Yeah. So I end up spending a lot of time solving those resentment, rather than dealing with the actual issue first.
So you're like a counselor as well?
Yeah.
Marriage counselor?
Yeah, so that's where my coaching skills then comes in.
Okay.
Because I've been doing coaching for the last 15 years. Yeah, and then I kind of specialized in relationship coaching later on my coaching career as well. So it's kind of, the whole thing that I'm doing is really a blend of both medical science as well as my coaching skill set.
How many people are like you in the market today, like providing this kind of a blend of holistic consultation,
Okay, not really, because I have my medical colleagues who just do the medical stuff. And then I have my psychologist friends who are just doing the psychology bits.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, there are other sex practitioners, like tantric sex practitioners, who also then offer their services that way.
But those will not be the medically trained in
so
terms
they
of
will have their own form of training, whether it's a coaching training, therapist training, or some of them are, sensual masseurs. Yeah. So they're all, like, I think we all work differently. They bring out the different facades of what sex really is, so that, the client can then look at what is it they're lacking and choose someone they want to work with.
Okay. I want to bring you back a little bit to the parenting part.
Go ahead.
So you have children?
Yes.
I think sometimes I read about your relationship with your children, parenting and all. So premarital sex is very, very common now. In fact, I would think that not having premarital sex after a certain age is then the kind of like the abnormal, you're like, you mean you are still
a virgin, right?
Virgin, like
yeah, okay.
As a parent, how would you approach this topic, and would you think that it's okay since we move along with time, that premarital sex, we just have to accept it as part and parcel of?
To me, the key is not about premarital sex. Is how is that relationship a choice for the both parties involved, and they are respectful of each other in that encounter.
But when you are 15 or 16, it's a bit too chim.
hard.
Yeah, it's difficult to have that maturity level. So how should parents talk to their kids about it?
Okay, unfortunately, my kids are not in that age range
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But what I've been doing with my child ever since she was born was a lot of boundary setting. So she gets to say her yes or her no quite readily, and I respect that. I mean, unless it's something against her safety. For example, crossing the road without holding hands, that's a big no-no for, say, a 2-year-old. Okay? But, if she wants to choose whether she wants to eat rice or noodles, she gets her choice.
Okay.
You see? So it's about that respect. And she knows that, we can trust her with her choice.
Okay.
So eventually when she chooses her partner, okay, she knows that she's aware that she has a choice, and she's also aware of the consequences that comes after. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether parents frequently practice this. One way I do parenting is I allow the consequences to be there to teach my kids, what happens after A, after B, after C. I don't stop them from doing this unless it's life-threatening. Okay, if you want to run, go ahead, but this is a rough floor. Okay, and you're going to fall and you're going to scratch your knee. Okay, go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about teenagers? What do you think parents should? Is there a good way, good framework?
To me, it's also about respecting. Why am I bringing this respecting up so much is because I feel that, right, a lot of times we take for granted how people treat us and how we treat people. And we don't see someone else as a total individual with their own views and opinions. When somebody views as very different from us, the cancel culture then starts coming in. Okay? And to me, in order to build an intimate relationship, respect is the fundamental of it. Then the connection comes in. Okay?
Because for parents, a lot of parents, when the kids is growing up, they have this sense of authority over their kid, right?
Yes.
And therefore, the respect, they sometimes expect it to be one way.
Correct.
Like, as a kid, you should respect me as your dad or your mom and all.
Yes.
Maybe let me come to something a bit even more specific. If should I hand my kid like a condom or teach my kid how to practice safe sex? I mean, the schools do it, but it's really very
Amateur.
not say amateur, but it's such a small part of it. It's like maybe when I was back in school, it was like one lesson whereby the school separate the boys and the girls. The girls go into another lecture theatre and you learn about like that one session. It's not a culture. It's more of, I don't know whether it has changed now in MOE, in our schools, but during my time now, I think back about it, it's more of like, yeah, it's something we should talk about. So let's talk about it and let's move on with it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, talk about it, but not move on.
As in, like, once we are done with that class, like, okay, the KPI is done. Okay,
Yes.
so we have taught the kids how to, we taught the girls how to use how to go on condom, and okay, let's go back to our class, and school carries on.
Yeah, I mean, putting on condom is a very important aspect to prevent STDs and unwanted pregnancies. But beyond that, what I feel that we need to teach our kids is, is this sexual encounter something that you want? Is this an encounter that your partner also wants? Yeah.
Typically, the girls are the one that we worry about more.
That's for that, I realized.
Yeah, despite, all this talk about gender equality,
Yes.
right? If I have a daughter, I worry about my daughter,
Yeah.
For guys, for boys, you still feel like, because at the end of the day, at the back of our mind, especially in our very Chinese, Asian kind of society, if you get pregnant, we always say that it's the girl that's on the losing end more, even if you go for abortion,
Yes.
or even if you decide to have a baby, become a single mom, you have to bear a very significant consequence.
Indeed. So how can we prevent all of that, you see? So I'm not sure whether you're aware, is that for countries who are practicing holistic sexual education, okay, which means they talk about a lot more things other than just abstinence, the age where their teenagers have sex actually increased. Okay, and the number of teenage pregnancy actually reduced. Okay, so the significance component is like, okay, if the whole world, right, say that this plate of chicken rice is super nice, but your mom and dad say, no, don't eat it, it's horrible. What's the urge you're going to have as a teenager?
Try it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what, if I say, yeah, I think the chicken rice is not too bad, but you have to taste it for yourself, judge it for yourself.
Okay.
then maybe you were like, okay, let me think whether I want to do it or not.
Okay.
You see that? When we give our kids that responsibility of choice versus denying them the choice, they start to be, they are being forced to be mature about it.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the countries that you've spoken about, holistic education kind of way, where is Singapore in that scale now?
I don't know. They recently just upgraded their sexual education course, supposedly.
Okay.
I haven't get a chance to see how it is being run. Because most of them are outsourced to vendors as well.
Outsourced to vendors,
So I've mainly been able to collect data from people that I know about how their classes were.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think is most important that we teach our children at that age? During puberty, like we mentioned about boundaries, making a choice for yourself, respect.
Consent. So what is a yes and what is a no?
So what's a yes and what's a no?
Yeah. So when, in case any parents that's watching this, feel free to Google on YouTube, this thing called consent about teacup or something like that. I can't remember the title, but it talks about when someone offers you tea, what exactly is a yes? Okay, so it has to be an enthusiastic yes, not a maybe yes. Okay.
Okay, I offered you tea just now. You said no, so I know that's a no.
Yes, correct. That was very clear.
Yeah.
And you will respect that, so thank you.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when someone also then say tea today, doesn't mean that they also want tea the next day.
Okay.
Okay, and someone may want tea in the afternoon. They might not want it in the evening. So the whole sexual encounter is about a series of yes. This yes sometimes is verbal, sometimes is through the physical language. So one of the things that I think we can improve on is to teach our kids, what is a clear consent. And this has been very muffled since being Asian. We are actually very, very polite to each other. So very often, right, you will see elderlies, strangers, or aunties and uncles that you only see during Chinese New Year. Oh, a boy, a girl, you're so cute, huh? Can I hug you? And then before the kid even say yes or no, the hug is already delivered.
Oh no, I'm guilty of that. No, really, I have a cousin.
Okay.
My youngest cousin, just share a side story. My youngest cousin, she is, how old is she? She's 10 this year, so she's 24 years younger than me. So she's really like the darling of the whole family, right? But she's really 10. And sometimes when I go over, I will say, "Okay, come over, let me give you a hug." I haven't wait for her sometimes to say yes or no.
Oh, okay.
Like she comes over lah.
Okay, then. Yeah, so don't know. I'm not sure. I wasn't there, so I wouldn't know whether she come over willingly with enthusiasm or she do it out of obligation. Yeah, you see what I mean, right?
Yes, I see what you
if
mean.
our child is brought up in an environment where they are obligated to reciprocate, okay, then when they enter relationship, they will also bring the same obligation with them, and that's where it makes consent very fuzzy.
Okay. And I can play my part also by instead of saying, "Okay, let me give you a hug," "Okay, can I give you a hug?" Or "Let me give you a hug." Or
just wait and
the
see
question,
her response. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, never thought of that. Food for thought. So, in your work today, right?
Yes.
What's your typical day like? Like in terms of your work, because we know that you run an academy. So by the word, I suppose there's some education element to it. Then you also run a coaching, like there's coaching, and there is also the medical aspect of it, right? So how does all this piece together in the whole operations of the academy?
Well, I mean, I still see my patients, as in like my patients, not my sex clients. Okay, so that also takes up some of my time. So when it comes to the academy itself, there are different components of work that we do. So we do content creation for education. We work with different partners and vendors to deliver either workshops or some content creations, or doing PR releases where they need someone to come in, some expert to come in with quotes and things like that. Okay, then also do consultancy work for some of the agencies where they needed some advice when it comes to presenting sexual content to their audiences. Okay, and of course then there's my clients coaching. Yeah. And then of course my team is also looking at how do we then bring our work to the future generation. So as you know, Web 2 is moving to Web 3.0.
Yep.
And hence, for us to because we do know that, the bunch of our youngsters really look elsewhere other than their parents for sex ed. And there's a lot of things that's ongoing that may not be most appropriate. And grooming for sexual reasons has been on the rise in the last 5 years, actually. So we do hope that, by entering to the Web 3.0 space earlier, we can actually engage the youngsters earlier and give them the appropriate sex ed that they may be looking for. Yeah.
What's the vision of the academy when you started out in September 2020 with your co-founders?
Well, back then, the whole idea of why we call it an academy is we want it to be a school.
Yep.
So it's not just me, giving advice to people, but how do we train different coaches such that we can deliver different forms of sex ed and therapy sessions to different people? Okay, and how can we also use the academy as a sex wellness platform for various people to partake in our activities, and we partner with different people to enhance the whole sexual wellness space itself. Yeah, and of course, definitely a hub for sexual education.
Okay. So are there any like signature programs that you all run? Or what are some of the trademark programs or people who are interested in the academy,
Yeah. So we run the Pleasure Masterclass
Okay.
as our signature program. It's a 3-hour workshop. We actually teach couples or individuals what are the key points when it comes to pleasure. So both based on the technical bits, the anatomy of the human body, as well as how to build the ambience and how to use, the biggest, well, not biggest, but actually the most active sex organ is actually the brain. So how do you use the brain to actually build out the whole mood for a more enjoyable session? So that was covered in our Pleasure Masterclass.
So this was done, I suppose, during the pandemic, it was done online. And now is it done in physical, like face-to-face?
Oh, we haven't quite started the face-to-face one yet.
Okay, but people who are interested to sign up for this master course.
Yeah, can just drop us an email and then we can address from there.
Okay. I suppose there's also that, of course, there's that one-to-one consulting that people can do, right?
Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about this Web 3.0 thing. What is this Web 3.0 thing, and what is NFT to you personally?
Well, to me, it's a channel, it's a platform where we can reach more people of the target audience. Technically, how should I say? Okay, everything that we can do now can actually still function in the Web 2.0. Okay, because we are still pretty much a brick and mortar business itself at this moment. So we are in the midst of how do we actually transit over to Web 3.0, and when the Metaverse is open up, how do we enhance and engage on the availability of the virtual reality to tap into an audience that is no longer bounded by time zones, by cultures, by boundaries that way.
Which is actually what the young kids are today accustomed to.
Correct.
Like, I don't know, I think there's this app called Roblox, right?
Yeah.
Roblox.
It's a game, yeah.
It's a game, but it looks a bit like virtual reality,
It is.
And kids, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old,
Yeah.
they are on that.
Yeah, in fact, on Roblox, more than 50% of the players are actually in the age range of 13 to 17.
So what's the idea behind, what's the vision behind the academy going Web 3.0? Is it then to have like a virtual school on something like the Metaverse?
Yes.
Where kids can go in to learn?
Yes. So not just about learning about sex education. So of course the typical content of like consent, boundaries, how do you pleasure your partner is there. But I'm also looking at how can it also be a healing space. Alright, because along the way, some of us are bound to have breakups. And really, who do we go to?
Cry to your friends or...
Yeah, we cry to our friends. And when what's after that? Because our friends may not be the best person to help us sort out what exactly went wrong in the relationship.
Yeah.
So some of us either end up blaming ourselves or blaming our partner for cheating or something like that. And we carry that burden of hurt in the next relationship and the next and the next.
Okay.
Yeah, so a healing space where people can recover from bad relationships, from sexual assault or things like that.
I digress, but I want to ask you a curious question. Now we talk about healing. For people who seem to always attract the wrong partners, right? Is it their fault?
Yes and no.
Okay.
No is because there's a lot of things that happens that's out of their control.
Maybe using the word fault is a wrong choice of word. Like, do they have to be responsible for it as well?
Well, if they see themselves as an adult, then they ought to be. Okay. Why a person is always attracting the wrong partner? Okay, there's got to be a reason behind it. And to me, if we are responsible adults, it's about finding what is causing that and make a change to that.
So what are typically, because people sometimes we don't realize why. We know it's happening. It's a phenomena that we in Mandarin they have this, in China they have this saying, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called 吸渣体质.
Not really.
You always attract the 渣男.
Okay.
Yeah, the lousy guys, right? Who are like, they cheat on you, they have multiple relationships. And there's this debate on whether you should bear certain amount of responsibility when you keep running into all these kind of partners. So the answer is yes and no. So how do we reflect upon it?
Okay,
as a responsible adult, like you said.
Okay, so I'm going to generalize this because it's really, really difficult to go into detail for each of them because different complexes has got its variation. But a person who typically goes for someone who is bad or lower quality per se, there's a sense of self-worth that's missing. Alright? Because if I see that I'm not good enough for something that is better, I will always go for something that meet my standards.
Okay.
Right? And then I'll feel that I deserve it. Because I'm lousy enough, hence, they left me, or they bullied me, or they cheated on me. Okay? So then it's to work on the self-worthiness. How do you let yourself feel, rebuild the confidence in yourself? I mean, and then that's the part, there's a no part, because there's a whole part of our childhood history that kind of shape us into who we are. We can't change the history. We can't make wrong things right again that way. But what we can do is, let it go, undo it. There are a lot of healing processes that happens from that. And find your worth again.
So people who keep running into bad relationship can look to you for advice as well.
Yeah, I guess they can.
The counselling part.
Yes.
Because like you say, sometimes we need someone who has that clarity of mind. So just complaining to your best friend might, it's a vent. It's a vent. Yeah,
yes.
You can vent it out.
But nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changes. Then the other thing is, sometimes we talk about how good guys finish last and, how the girls like bad boys, right?
Well, okay, you got to look at, what about the bad boy is attractive. I mean, usually when we are young, we want something exciting, want something adventurous because we know that, that's the only time we can do it. 我们输得起 when we are young. But usually as women mature, they will look for someone who is more stable, etc., etc. So maybe the bad boy thing can be a phase. But if it keeps coming, then you've got to really look at the reasons. I mean, I know people in abusive relationships. And then if you look at their whole entire history, they tend to come from abusive families as well. And somewhere deep down inside, they believe that they can change the man in front of them through their love.
Can men be changed?
Well, only if they want to.
Okay.
But we cannot change somebody else. So it becomes a delusion in a way. It becomes a lot of lies that they are doing to themselves because they couldn't change their father or whatever. So they think they can change their husband, for example.
Okay.
So that's why there's a lot of complexes that go behind all these stories. It's about going through each and every case and to look at what is the root cause of it all.
One other general question. So, there's a lot of people always like to talk about how men and women are built differently, wired differently. So, I think times have sort of changed a bit. But last time, right, for example, remember when Jackie Chan had an affair? And, he had a daughter that came out of that relationship. And in that press conference, he famously said that he made a mistake that all men in the world would make. This world that we live in today, right, has a lot of distractions. And sometimes we can be it man or woman, I think. Sometimes that infidelity can happen quite easily.
Yep.
Because we are spending so much more time at work.
Yes.
And if you talk about the closest colleague that you have at work, sometimes you might find yourself having a more intimate connection with your colleague than your spouse at home.
Yeah.
And that's when things can start to, go wrong sometimes, right? When infidelity happens, right? And a partner finds out about it. there's always this argument that as men and women, right, we are wired a bit differently, and men ought to be forgiven, or they expect to be forgiven.
Okay.
Then for the woman, right, the conventional wisdom is that women tend to put in more emotional and they're more vested emotionally. So it's not just a physical thing. What's your thought to that?
Okay, we don't have the stats for local, but based on the stats that's done in Europe as well as US, it does shows that men are more inclined to have an affair due to desire, attraction reasons, whereas women tend to have affairs because of emotion neglect.
So that means it's in a way
It is way
proven
true, but the numbers are not that far apart. So that means you will still have women who are in for the sex only, and you will still have men who are in for the emotional journey. So it's not an exclusive thing, even though the numbers, does sway to one side, but it's not a clean-cut thing. So it still goes down to, every case, what exactly has caused the infidelity. And to understand that, sometimes infidelity is not just the fault of the person who's having the affair. How did the other person who claims the victim also played a role in it? You see, so it's multifactorial in its own way, and that's why what makes my job interesting. Because I become a detective, I get to gather all the data and evidences, and I put everything on the table, and for the couple to decide. What is it that they want to be responsible for? What is it they want to start changing? Because I have worked with couples after cheating, they broke up. I also work with couples who after cheating, their relationship becomes even stronger. You see, so cheating is never just itself. It's look at, what exactly is causing it and moving on what matters to this couple.
So you take a neutral approach.
Yeah. So that's why with couples coaching, you can never take sides. The moment you take sides, you've lost the battles for everyone.
Yeah. It's difficult though.
Well, that's why the challenge is.
To not be quite judgmental about it. Yeah.
So I have to play a neutral role, but I have to take sides from time to time whenever I see that one party is losing out. So I'm always the bouncing ball.
So you take side with the losing party to nudge the person.
So they can find that power. They need their little cheerleader to be empowered, and then they can rise to the occasion and fight their battle again.
Do you have a personal biggest no-no in a relationship?
My personal relationship?
No, as in like when you counsel a couple. So like for me, right, my family has always been brought up, like my mom has taught us, my sister and all that, if a man ever lays his hands on you, then it's over. Like it's not even so much the infidelity part, and all. It's like if he dares beat you up, right? Like if he dares physically abuse you, then it's over. Walk out.
Yeah, okay. Then that's not for me to judge.
Okay.
For the couples, they have to decide for themselves. Okay, because I have known of couples where the girls hit the man. Right, then is it also over? Okay, so we really have to understand that what is that cause of aggression? Is that something that can be changed? Is that something that the parties involved are willing to work through? Because if nothing is going to change, then whether they stay in this relationship or to move on to the next relationship, it will always remain. So to me, it's also a healing process for each of the individuals to work through whatever it is that contributes to the current situation.
We have one question prepared. I think it's important that we raise this.
Oh, go ahead.
There are more people choosing to be single, remain single.
Okay.
And they may not have a partner. They have their friends, they have their families and all, but they, in terms of romantic relationship, they are single and they lose that connection with that one other significant other. How should they practice wellness and sexual relationship and sexual wellness for themselves?
It depends. I mean, they might not choose to have one committed partner, but in this day and age, open relationship is quite common as well.
Okay, yeah.
Well, to me,
so it's up to them.
100%. To me, it's as long as you're respectful of somebody and you are aware of the boundaries and the consent that is revolving about it. It's about two mature people coming together. Sure, go ahead. And make sure it's a safe sex, of course.
Okay.
All right. And of course, personal pleasure, masturbation, that is also practiced by, I guess, quite a number of people. Just that for females, it's also more taboo compared to men. Yeah, so it's just about being comfortable with that. How do you still allow yourself to express your sexuality and understand your needs that way.
I'm curious though, as a coach and as a doctor and personally, right, there are some people who are increasingly exploring all this alternative lifestyle. Like you mentioned, open relationship. Previously, I spoke to someone who spoke about monogamy versus like poly. What are your views to that?
Okay. To me, right, whether it's open relationship, monogamy, polygamy, I still go down to my basics. All right, what is it? What is ethical and consensual?
The ethics part is a bit more ambiguous.
It's different because different cultures and different eras, the ethics changes. So then, in fact, then I will focus more on what is consensual. What is an agreement between two parties? It's very interesting. One of the things I always tell my clients, every time you sign up for a new job, you scrutinize the JD line by line and make sure you don't get cheated by your company. But when you enter a relationship, do you even talk about what's between you and your partner to be? What is the agreement? You see, and then when you sign that marriage certificate, do you actually review your JD compared? Because girlfriend 1.0 and Y 1.0 is very different, the JD. Do we actually review it even?
Because a lot of us now is like, we talk about how the feeling is right, there's chemistry, all these things are very intangible, right? JD is like, point A, point B, point C, point D. So what do you suggest the framework should be?
To me, it's without the foundation of a structure to fall back on. When the feelings feelings go up and down based on our mood for the day. Something bad happens to us that day, we feel lousy. Our feeling goes down. Or our need for our partner to make us feel better increases. Then, like, usually I'm fine with, let's say, meeting once a week. Just because I had a bad day today at work, I expect my partner to call me every hour. Then that's very different from the usual expectations, right? Then if my partner don't understand it and didn't respond in time, and then he'll be scolded for not being caring and being insensitive.
Yeah. So it's very tiring.
And that's not very fair to me.
Yeah.
So it's about working all those things out.
Okay. This JD thing, unless we are going to a matchmaking service, right, they show you literally a bio profile of that someone else. When organic relationship happens, when you, because of this exposure to interaction, right, be it at the workplace or in school, or at a friend's party, mutual, like you know someone through a mutual friend. How do we then establish the equivalent of a JD?
Oh, it's about talking about it slowly. What do you expect in a partner?
Okay. How soon do you think we should talk about it in a very more structured manner?
As soon as you like confirm this person to be your girlfriend, boyfriend, I guess. Okay. Or even then before that, you're really teasing out. You see, like
sizing the person up.
You have to suss out, right? So I actually wrote a little guidebook on how to suss out the right partner.
Is available to download?
I think so. I'm not sure whether I put it in the catalog. But so I talk about things like, how do you, through different questions, look at what are your values of the person. Because the values of the person, whether it matches yours, then determine how far this relationship will go. Okay, I mean, if, for example, if you value privacy a lot, and I value socialization a lot, okay, we're going to have problems down the line. Yeah, so knowing these differences doesn't mean that it cannot work, but we have to know where are the boundaries. Are you comfortable with me socializing by myself? Am I comfortable with just leaving you alone at home and then I go out myself? That kind of thing. Or I must insist that every time I go out socialize, I must bring you along. You see, these are like potential conflict points already. And
it's a process whereby you smoothen out the...
So if you can talk about it earlier on, and then set the boundaries earlier on. Of course, you can update it. It needs to be updated regularly. Then we can, not have an argument about it unnecessarily.
This is exactly the issue I'm facing. Because I'm a very introverted person. I don't really like to socialize. Then my girlfriend is more of the, for women, right? Sometimes when they see all the other friends have a +1 at the gatherings. And of course, they also want to have you there, right? In the +1. And so, so that's that process of... I want to come back to the... Sorry, we're jumping all over the place, but the NFT. So I saw your launch NFT series. Can you tell us more about it? Or maybe you can pass me you have something for me today?
Oh, but this is more for the sex kit.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll talk about it at the end.
Sure.
We talk about NFT first.
Okay, can we can do that. So we first launched our first set of NFTs as pertaining to womb. Why I wanted to do that was part of the Women's International Day, and we were actually working on how do we dispel myths around sex. All right. So one of the things that happens was that, all women has a womb, but yet because it's associated with menstruation, it's always deemed as dirty thing. Okay, and when a pregnancy happens through the womb, everyone celebrates it. So this womb is very conflicted, Like one, it is the reason for celebration, yet the other part is like the menstruation or even abortions and miscarriages. There's so much taboo around it. So when we were thinking could we actually throw something out into the market and tell people that this womb needs to be appreciated no matter which phase it's in? Whether it's menstruating, whether it's going through menopause, or whether it just had a miscarriage or abortion, it is equally celebrated as much as it is when it's carrying a baby. Yeah.
So how's the response been?
Well, I would say it's not as great as we would love it to be because we are still very new in the NFT market. But it definitely gave us confidence to push through this further. And how can we actually look into entering this market with even more confidence down the road?
Okay. Earlier you spoke about educating on Web 3.0 and all. So what are some of the concrete things that we can look forward to from the Academy and you in terms of this aspect, the Web 3.0?
Okay, so what we are looking at next time, we are working with our partners to actually launch this NFT called an Otterhalf, where we actually teach people of how do you profile your partner, and through the using of NFT for the engagement, how do you sign up whether this person is the right person for you?
Say that again? Through the
NFT itself,
okay.
Because the NFT has got different features.
Yeah.
So by having the different features, you kind of match whether this person is the right one for you. So let's say I have a feature called spectacles. Okay, on my otter. It's a cute little otter.
Okay.
Okay, and this other person also have a spectacle.
Oh, okay.
Then that causes a match. So automatically the system will highlight to you, somebody else also owns an otter with a spectacles. Because spectacles may mean intellect to both parties, and that's already a value match that way.
Yeah, actually I saw the video on the YouTube channel on the Otterhalf. It's very cute.
Yes.
So it's like interactive game?
Not quite a game yet. It's still a very 2D NFT at this moment in time.
So other than this NFT project, what other work that we can look forward to from the Academy in the next short term or long term, medium term?
Medium term, we hope to be able to have a sexual wellness platform on the Metaverse.
Okay, the sexual wellness. What about brick and mortar? Is there things that you are looking at as well?
So currently it's still business as usual. The intimacy coaching is still happening, the workshops are still happening, and collaborations with different partners is still happening that way.
Okay. What are you most excited about for the future?
How do we scale this whole sexual wellness thing in a way that not just that it's not limited by boundaries, but also not limited by ability. Okay, what do I mean by that? Now when we suss out a partner, right, we look at how they look, what's their socio-economic status, okay, what's their education status, whether they are handicapped or not.
Yep.
Okay, so in this metaverse where all of us are just avatars, we put that all aside.
Okay.
And we can just focus on connecting with another human for what they really are deep under. Without the superficialities of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's something that excites me.
Yeah. There's something, so we get to the soul of the person. Not so much the physical aspects and all. Physical aspect is still quite important, right?
I mean, I guess to some people.
Yeah. There are people who have deal breakers. So for some girls, I suppose one of the most common one is if the guy is shorter. I mean, it's a physical thing. Shorter than her, then it's a no-no for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how much? I mean, we are really, really not talking. We're already marginalized people who for example, have a road traffic accident, and they're paralyzed from hips down, for example,
Yeah.
does it mean that they are not worthy to have a partner forever?
But they can find their own partners as well. But just that maybe the pool is smaller. People who accept them is already smaller.
So
from
at the
start.
Metaverse, all of us are equal in that aspects.
Great. I think that's very exciting. You have another colleague with you today,
Yes, sure.
and so she will talk to us about.
So Zhang Yun will be sharing more about our Otterhalf project and to look at, how this is kind of going to add a little bit of spice into the whole dating scene in Singapore right now.
Okay, great. We'll talk to her later. Do you have any other things to add?
Well, I'll be happy to share with you my intimacy kit and what's in store for it later.
Please, let me take a look.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, this is my first time looking at this unboxing. So this is an eye mask. Correct.
Yeah, so this is a blindfold.
So this kit is overall to okay. There are some notes as well.
Well, more on the other side where the yes, no, maybe list is.
Okay. Yes, no, maybe. So I will scan this. I'll link this in the description box. So how do I use this?
Okay. So what happened? I have an online link anyway. I can give it to you if you need it. Okay. So basically, right. For some couples, you find it awkward to talk about sex right at the start. So this yes, no, maybe list become a conversation starter.
So before you even have sex,
yes,
you go through this first.
Yes.
Okay.
So like you and your girlfriend, y'all can take the list, and each of y'all can tick under each item, whether is it a yes, no, or a maybe. So for example, is rimming a yes, no, or maybe for you. So somebody just like, oh, this is way too out for me. Anything near my anus is too scary. No. Some people maybe a maybe. So you kind of then gauge what is the boundaries when it comes to sexual interactions with your partner.
Okay. Actually, this is very useful. Okay, this is very useful. We will link this, the e-copy, the way so everybody can get it. And this is a
condoms.
Okay, this is a condom. Okay, and this is
so we have prepared some cards.
Yep.
Okay, so those are educational cards. I have included a few exciting sexual positions for people so that you can know how do you get into the positions. What is the plus point about these positions?
These are like sex toy, right?
Yeah, that was a sex toy.
So that means if I have this sex toy, I can choose to use it. So people can get this kit online.
Yes.
Through your platform as well, the website. Okay. I see 2 other items.
Okay, so sometimes we have collaborations with different partners, and then we'll throw in freebies inside. So this is from Tulips. So they are a brand that actually take care of the intimate area.
Okay.
So I guess you can give it to your girlfriend.
And there's a Kinder surprise here.
Absolutely my favorite.
So this is a
Tenga egg.
Okay.
It's actually a masturbator sleeve. So it's for men. So I thought this would be appropriate for you. Can be used by your own or with your partner. So basically, there's texture inside. So it's like a huge condom. You kind of put it over the penis area, and rubbing it in different ways, then thereby produces different sensations.
Okay. What do you think is the role of sex toy in two persons relationship?
To me, it can make things a bit more fun, less mundane and routine. Spice up things a little bit here and there. I mean, it might not be great every time. Just that, once in a while, I'm bored, honey, let's do something funny.
There's one more thing.
That's the pouch for the blindfold.
Okay. Interesting. So thank you, Dr. Tan, for this kit.
Yes, I hope you will find it very useful.
Yes, I'm going to use it. I'm going to go through it with my partner.
Yes,
I think it's a learning process now.
It is.
And also, especially when I think before sex, I mentioned, it's something that we can know the boundaries very clearly. Any other things to add?
Well, at the end of the day, I'll just say that sex and intimacy is a very important part of our lives.
Yes.
And it can only be great if you put in effort to it. And this effort, unfortunately, also requires us to be honest with ourselves, where we put aside our ego and really hear out our partner for that connection to happen.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort and putting down the ego. So for men out there, right? I mean, I can speak for men because I'm a man. For men out there who are actually still very shy, about seeking help because of all the, there's this self-worth kind of thing, right? That you inevitably, you are disappointed with yourself and you feel like you don't want people to know. What do you think is a good way to seek help? for men?
Well, I mean, there are anonymous platforms available out there
Okay.
where they can, you know, ask for advices. But one of the things I want to emphasize for men is that the penis size and how long your erection can last is not the most important thing. It's how are you able to make your woman feel safe, such that you can have an intimate moment without her, you know, panicking or feeling uncomfortable about it. That's going to make a difference. You don't make her feel loved and desired. That's going to change the whole game.
But the performance is also important, right?
Yeah, but because we haven't touched about it during this session, is that penile vaginal penetration is actually not the most pleasurable thing for women.
Okay.
Okay, if you can do your clitoris stimulation appropriately and know what the right buttons to warm her up before you get even to the clitoris, we have won more than half the battle.
Okay. So men should not be so fixated on just a certain aspect of the sexual intercourse. Okay. Any other tips?
Well, I mean, if they can actually gun that down, I think many women will be very happy already.
Okay. So that's advice for men. Any last advice for women?
Okay. For women, it's important to know your self-worth. Okay. Don't underestimate, you know, how awesome you really are. Okay. By being able to treasure yourself, you will teach your men to treasure you.
It's actually an exciting time to be a woman, but it's also like not easy time to be a woman as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times for women, right, there are still so many roles that women have to juggle and be expected to
do well in everything.
Yeah. So whether you win as a career woman, people can say like another aspect of it, saying that you are not doing enough at the family side.
Yes.
And if you are good in the family side, if you are full-time homemaker and happy about it, then people have another set of rubbish to say.
Yes. And whether you are married with no children, 1 children, 2 children, 3 children, or 4 children.
It's never right as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you choose to remain single, you're married, I say no children. You have children too fast, people also can say something. You know, if you choose to just have a long break between 2 children, people can also say something.
Yeah.
Do you have a self-care routine? Maybe the last question I'll ask you is, as a woman, you know, cultivating your own self-worth and juggling all the other roles that you're playing now. What's your self-care routine like?
Okay, I'm saying that, you know, I'm really, really bad at this. I'm totally not disciplined at this. This is something that I really have to work on.
Okay.
But one of the things matters to me is I have learned how to catch myself when I'm going down. And I learned how to pause, take a break, and seek help when I need. So even though I'm a coach, I'm a doctor, okay, trust me, I have a lot of other coaches that I work with as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes. So they're my very close friends that I trust, my mentors that I trust. So whenever I'm in trouble, there's a group of people that I actually go to seek help as well.
Okay. So you think that support network is important for?
Yes.
But for people who do not have that professional kind of network, so your recommendation is they seek professional help?
Either professional help or you have a trusted friends. Okay, then go ahead. Or if you want to start somewhere, there are meetup groups out there that you can start making friends for that purpose.
Okay. Okay, great, Dr. Tan. I appreciate you coming down and sharing wearing your heart on the sleeve, and sharing so candidly about many things. I think we can have a lot of interesting short form content for the platforms as well on TikTok and all.
Yes.
We can push out content from there.
Yes.
And yeah, I look forward to all the exciting initiatives that the Academy is doing, and I wish you all the very best. I think the society can only get better when sexual wellness is more normalized.
I definitely hope so.
And everybody has a more enjoyable sexual relationship with both ourselves and our partners.
Yeah, definitely that's important.
Yeah. Thank you. Then we will have a talk with your colleague about the NFT projects.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. Thank you so much. Hi, Zhong-Ying.
Hi.
Good to have you. So earlier I spoke with Dr. Tan, and I'm very excited about the NFT project. I actually saw the earlier NFT projects that the Academy has put out, CelebrateWomb, and now we are looking at the next NFT project, and you're here to tell us more about it. So what is it really about?
Yeah, so the Otterhalf project is about us creating NFT that combines art and also the blockchain technology to match individuals so that they can find connection in the blockchain. Yeah.
Why? What's the role of this NFT that's trying to do? Earlier, Dr. Tan spoke about how it can match people with different NFTs. Like if I have a similar NFT with another person, right, and it might suggest a match, how does it work?
Okay, so the individuals, they
Yep.
will own different sets of NFTs, right? And then they will have different attributes. So the difference between this NFT as compared to, the usual NFT is that the avatars have attributes that represent their personalities. That's beyond, the physical traits. So, then when you match the other person, it will be based on your desired personalities, preferences, desires. So, it's actually something that's beyond the superficial level. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm represented by an otter.
An avatar that is an otter that
Okay.
carries certain traits with them. Yeah.
What's the design inspiration behind this whole thing? Why an otter?
Okay. It's an interesting question. So what happened was during one of the sessions that we have, we were me and my partner, we were thinking about a name for the project. We were thinking, how we can name the project, and then suddenly the otters appeared. Yeah, and then the name came about, an Otterhalf.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a wordplay on
Another half.
another half.
Yes.
Okay, partner referring to your business partner.
Yes, business partner.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, why is it? It's it's an otter half because of the wordplay on another half, and so what NFT is trying to do is it becomes a platform for people to find like another match in terms of
Yes.
like a partner.
Yes, find the other half.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm a bit curious about. I want to ask a little bit more about the exact operations of how it works. So for people who are interested, right, what do I have to do? Do I have to then purchase an NFT on the Academy's website? Or is there a community that I need to join? How do I go about doing it?
Yeah, so, well, the most basic step, right, is to have, an account, and then, okay, basically they have to first join the platforms that we have available first, which is Discord or Telegram or, Twitter.
Oh,
And
so
then-
you all have a Discord,
Yeah, we have
a
Discord.
Telegram, and a Twitter.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Then after that, they have to have a wallet, and then they will purchase the NFT. Yes, they will choose the NFT that represents them, and then after that, they will come to our website, which we will create a platform for them to allow the matching to happen. Yeah.
So there are a lot of other ways whereby someone who is single can look for a partner, right? There's those traditional kind of matchmaking, then there's all the dating apps that we can go on.
Yes.
What's the idea behind having blockchain and NFT as a platform to do this matching?
Yeah, so as Dr. Angela mentioned earlier, we are going towards, the Metaverse, in really a matter of 5 to 10 years. So in that space, people are going to be more disconnected physically but connected online, right? And then, the anonymous part will become more prevalent. I don't know who you are, you don't know who I am. We are just represented by avatar. So beyond the physical traits, how can we connect in other ways? So this is where we come in. Yeah, and we find that, this may be the formula for people to connect differently, especially in the form of art, because art conveys things that's beyond words. Because words are invented by humans, right? And sometimes you look at the art and you look at something, it just speaks to you, and then you don't understand why. So there must be some elements that connects people, and that's why we are heading towards this and using NFT as a start.
How many designs are there?
How many?
Yeah.
As of now, I mean, it can go to as many as 10,000, but as of now, we have the first set of the 500.
So it's already launched.
We have not officially released it, but it is,
Okay.
in progress. Yes.
Okay, great. So for people who are interested to find out more information, they can join your Discord channel, Telegram channel, and also the Twitter account as well.
Yeah, they should follow our Twitter first.
Okay,
Yes, then we can.
For
Yeah,
you
from
personally, what's most exciting and significant about this project?
For me, because I'm representing, the creative part of the project, the most exciting part is to know how to express our personalities in art. Yeah, because these are things that's beyond what, the words can describe, what we know intellectually. Yeah, so expressing them out is the most exciting part for me. It's also a journey for me to understand myself and understand what people need. Yeah.
So there are personalities such as like kind otter.
Yeah, there's no emo otter.
Emo otter.
Yeah,
Okay,
or like
okay.
excited otters. And then some of them are pessimists, optimists. How do you draw them? Because, emotions are just one type of expression, right? But how
To
do
express it through a drawing.
Correct.
Yeah.
An optimist is a smiley face. And then, I don't know, a kind person is also a smiley face. So how do you do that? Yeah, so that's the part that I'm really excited to explore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite out of all the designs that you have had so far?
Yes.
Which one is it?
It's the one that has a very relaxing vibe. An otter wearing a bikini at the beach, relaxing and just basically being very chill lah. Yeah, I
so
guess.
what's that otter? That otter, is it what's the attribute?
The attribute.
Like what is it called? Like kind or relax or chill or sexy or?
Oh, so far this otter actually is just one of the teams lah, which is traveling team. We are still exploring the traveling team, so it's not yet the attribute based kind of otter. Yeah, but I do like the expression that I drew. Yeah, and kind of represent what I want and my journey at this point in time. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. We look forward to the launch. When will we be launched officially?
Well, you can keep. We'll keep you updated.
Okay.
Yeah, in Twitter.
So for people who are interested, follow your Twitter and we can find out in due course.
Yes.
Okay. So any other things to add about this project?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing the project launch officially.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.